Go. Hi guys, my name is Kordel and I'm going to talk to you all about a certain type of debate. It's the type of debate I'm in called policy debate. See, policy debate, out of the three debate types, which would be Lincoln Douglas, public forum, and policy debate is the hardest form of debate. Probably asking yourself, what is policy debate? Policy debate is a form of debate that takes around an hour to an hour and a half long, which is one of the reasons why it's so hard. And it's where two teams made up of two people, so 2 against 2, will debate a certain plan. This plan will be based off a resolution, such as this year the resolution is resolved. The United States federal government should substantially increase its exploration and/or development of space beyond the Earth's mesosphere. And people have to create a plan, something to do with how they're going to increase the exploration and/or development of space beyond the Earth's mesosphere. So, what I'm going to talk to you about is, for people who are interested in debate and want to learn more about each type of debate, I'm going to teach you about policy debate. So, one thing, I'm going to talk about each side. There's the affirmative and then there's the negative. So for the affirmative, they have to propose a plan and they have to give evidence and reasons why their plan is the best plan to go with. They have to say, okay, they have to support 5 different things. These things are called the shits of policy debate. Probably asking yourself, so this professional sort of debate is, covered in shits? Not exactly. Shits is actually an acronym. First one, you can't really see this very well, so I'll just set that down, is significance. The affirmative has to show why the problem that they are solving for is significant. And then harms. They have to say, what bad will happen if we don't carry out this plan? Inherency, meaning, what is keeping this from happening? Topicality, meaning, do they follow the resolution? And solvency, is this plan actually solving for the problem? So on to significance. If, say it's something like, hey, we need to make sure that asteroids don't hit Earth. We all know asteroids don't hit Earth that often. Like maybe once it was a species ending, dinosaurs, they all died. Probably not likely that that'll happen again, but it might happen. So people can argue significance against that, saying, this isn't a very significant problem. It's not affecting that very many people, which is basically what significance is. Saying, hey, this isn't affecting that many people, so it's not that huge of a deal, we don't need to do anything about it. Harms is basically how bad, what will happen if we don't carry out this plan, and how bad it is. It's the degree of badness, if you will. Significance and harms basically go hand in hand. With harms, if it's not really that bad, it's not that huge of a deal, say, oh, well, blah, you might lose a satellite or two, but that's nothing huge. You can argue that's also significance, but harms aren't really that bad. If the harms aren't worth, as they say, do the ends justify the means? If they don't, then the affirmative has no case, and that's what the negative can argue. On to inherency. Inherency is saying, hey, is there a plan like this before, or what is keeping your plan from happening? Such as with asteroids, the saying NASA, oh hey, NASA was actually given a job to find all the asteroids that might hit Earth, but they weren't given the funding for it. Since they weren't given the funding, then they can't really do anything. That's an inherency. That's inherency for a case. Saying, well, this is the reason why. There are 3 different types of, what are they called? 3 different kinds of inherency. I know there's existential, meaning it just doesn't exist. There's political, meaning people just don't want it, and the third one escapes me. I'll get back to you on that. And also onto topicality, or back to the inherency. If there is no inherency, if say their plan is, we debated some people who they were going to, it was a ballistic missile defense system, and they said, we're going to continue the project Aegis. We asked them, so are you increasing the rate at which Aegis is being completed? And they'd say, no, we're continuing Aegis as it is. That's the status quo. Meaning it's already happening, they don't have to do anything, there's no agent of action, so they had no inherency, therefore they lost. And onto topicality. Topicality is saying, these guys, a topicality argument would be saying, hey, these guys aren't really following the resolution, so you should vote them down. We don't really like them, they're not following the resolution. Don't listen to them. So we say the resolution says the United States federal government should substantially increase its exploration and development. The resolution says the United States federal government has to be the agent of action. And if their plan says that they're working multilaterally, then they're untopical by the resolution, and you can argue that. And if they're untopical, and if you argue it well enough, then they should lose the debate on topicality. And also on dissolvency. Are they really solving the plan? Such as with a ballistic missile defense system in space. Well, if I argue, say, hey, if they're in space, they're going to be hit by space debris, and you're just wasting our money because they're just going to be destroyed, inevitably. So, they have no solvency because they're not solving for the problem. Then, if you don't win on solvency, then you don't win the debate round. Or, depending on who your judges are, because we've had some pretty stupid judges. It's being very light. But going through, talking about the negative, to start this off, there are two different types of judges. There are stock judges, which are my personal favorite, and lay judges, which I hate with a passion. With stock judges, they go by these stocks. The negative's objective is to win on a single one of these stocks, these stock issues, as they're called. If the negative wins one of the stock issues, then they win the entire round. For lay judges, it's just whoever sounds the prettiest, which is why I like stock judges better. So, with stock judges, you only have to win one, which is the objective of the negative. They have to take out at least one of these stock issues and sound the prettiest at the same time. The affirmative, they have to defend the stock issues while sounding pretty. You don't really know what kind of judge you have unless you ask them before the round, so you just have to always make sure you sound pretty when you're talking, which is hard to do in policy debate because so many people, they talk like this in a monotone voice and it gets very, very annoying, and all they do is talk like this, and I know, I actually fell asleep a little bit while I was saying that, and it's really boring. So, how the case goes, the first speech given is the 1AC, the first affirmative constructive. It's 8 minutes long. You have to talk 8 minutes about how you're significant, what harms they'll have if you don't have this, inherency, how this problem is inherent, or how your plan is inherent. I'm not sure if that makes sense. How the plan will basically be how it's topical. You have to give your plan text, and you have to talk about why it solves. Then you have a 3-minute. It's the 3-minute cross-examination. A representative from the negative side comes up and they ask questions. They ask the affirmative questions about their case, and they use this for clarification and to also set up arguments. Then comes the 1NC. They bring up arguments. In the 1NC, it's politically correct, it's etiquette, it's proper etiquette to only have off-case arguments in the 1AC. Off-case arguments would be T's, which would be topicalities, J's, justification, I'll get to that later, DA's, which are disadvantages, and those are all off-case. So, topicality argument is basically saying, one, you have the interpretation, which is what you really think this word means, and you have definitions to support it. B, violation, how the affirmative is violating that. Standards, what standards you should go by, and voters, why you should vote on this as a topicality issue. And so if you do that well enough, then you should win on topicality, unless they have a counter-argument against that. Justifications. Justifications are saying, hey, the affirmative has to justify this. They have to say, why does it have to be the USFG, or the United States federal government? Or why does it have to be in space, as opposed to on the ground? So, and you can't just say it because the resolution says so. You have to say why it's better in space. And disadvantages, they're saying what disadvantages can come from this, such as with ballistic missile defense, or BMDs. You could say, hey, China and Russia might get very mad at us and they might want to kill us all. That's a disadvantage. That's a relations disadvantage. And those are all off-case arguments. Then comes a cross-examination. A representative from the affirmative comes, and they ask questions about their case, set up arguments, points of clarification, and whatnot. Then comes the 2AC. They answer arguments from the 1NC, and then they continue on, they build on their own case for another 8 minutes. Then comes the next cross-examination. Representative from negative comes, they ask questions, same deal with cross-examination. Then the 2NC. What coming up next is called the neg block. The neg block, they have two speeches right next to each other. They have the 2NC, so they talk about how the affirmative is still wrong on all of these, and they can bring up new arguments which are on case, such as solvency, yeah, solvency, significance, harms, inherency, not topicality. Significance, inherency, harms, and solvency. They bring up arguments about those in the 2NC. Then they have the 1NR, which is the first negative rebuttal. And with the first negative rebuttal, they say basically continue on. Like in the 2NC, they say, okay, here's some more arguments. There's different strategies to it, like splitting the block is a strategy. They bring up new arguments in this, and they talk about how they dropped arguments or reiterate why they're right on these arguments. And also, next comes the 1AR, or first affirmative rebuttal. In the first affirmative rebuttal, they have to answer the neg block. They have to talk about, okay, they talked about this, 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 and this. They have to answer all that in 4 minutes. All the rebuttals are 4 minutes. The 1NR is 4 minutes, and the 1AR is 4 minutes. And basically, the 2AR, or the first speaker in the whole speech, has the hardest job because they have to answer about 12 minutes of arguments in 4 minutes. So they have to be really good at speaking. And in the 2NR, yeah, the 2NR comes next, the second negative rebuttal. They say, okay, this is why they're still wrong. They answer arguments. Sorry about that, I kind of sneezed and then, stopped the video. So, where was I talking about the 2AR and the 2NR. In the 2NR, they talk about, okay, they bring up more dropped arguments. They're like, okay, they dropped this, this, and this, so you can extend that to the end of the round, meaning just accept that as being true because they never answered it. Just kind of douche move. And also, they say, okay, this is why they're still wrong. They really haven't answered this, and you should vote for negative. Don't go for the affirmative plan. The affirmative plan sucks, basically. And also, then the very last speech is given by the affirmative, the 2AR. Second affirmative rebuttal. Surprise, surprise. So, in that they say, okay, this is why we're right on here. The negative just is very ignorant, and they just don't like to listen to us. This is why we're right on this, blah, blah, blah. We didn't drop these arguments, or the negative dropped these arguments, blah, blah, blah. And they say, vote for the affirmative. The affirmative is freaking amazing. You should vote for us. And it really depends on who you're debating. There are some really unintelligent people. Hey guys, sorry about that. Well, each team has to create an affirmative case, or with my team we have multiple affirmative cases. We have like 4 or 5, but we were running, at this particular time we were running asteroids detection, and these guys, they were running space debris neg. They're saying, hey, you know what, they're solving for asteroids, but they're not solving for space debris, and space debris is a really big problem, and this is why. Then we come up and we're like, did we say we were solving for space debris? No. Nope, never did. So, why did you run a space debris negative? Because you're not solving for it. Did we say we were solving for it? Nope. No. Don't be an idiot. If you're going to join policy, make sure you're smart. Make sure you actually have a good amount of intelligence. If you don't, as Liam Neeson says, I will find you, and I will kill you. You think I'm kidding, but I'm really not. Don't be an idiot. That's all I have to say. That's the best advice I can give you, is don't be an idiot. If you're an idiot, then, yeah, you will have no friends. You might have some friends, you might have other idiot friends, but also, if you're also one of these player guys who's only in debate to meet girls, don't join policy. Policy is the actual professional debate. It doesn't have that many hot girls in it. It's a professional debate, not much flirting. You make good friends, and you also make some enemies, especially if you're a total jerk in your rounds, like some people are. I'm not going to mention any names, Jaleb. Sorry, I mentioned the name, Jaleb. So, if you're a jerk in the round, you're probably not going to be good at policy debate, because 1, you're going to have no friends, 2, you're going to give them incentive to beat the crap out of you. If you get the crap beaten out of you, then you can't really debate that well. And, yeah, just don't be a jerk, and have fun with it. Policy debate is a lot of fun. It's actually helps you. It's also really good for college, because the people look for policy debaters. You also got to find a partner, but when you find a partner, you got to find someone you trust. If you don't trust your partner, then you're not very good. In fact, there's only one partner that I'm actually comfortable working with, and I've known him for like a decade, and it's weird because I'm only 15, and yeah, I've known him for like 10 years, so find someone you really trust, because if you don't trust them, then you're bound to fail. Not even kidding there either. So, that's the end of the video, guys. See you next time. Hope you join your debate team, and I hope I get to meet you. And if you see me, come up to me and say, "Hi, how's it going? I saw your video. You're really cool." Thanks. Hey guys, back on inherency. I told you I was going to cover it again, and I'm not lying to you. I'm going to cover it again. There are 3 different types. There is, hold on, I had it written down here. There is structural, meaning there are laws that act as barriers against your plan from happening. There's attitudinal, meaning, hey, these guys just don't really like it that much, so they're not going to run it. And there's existential, meaning it just doesn't exist. That's the inherency. So all those are inherency arguments that you need if you're going to run the affirmative case. So yeah, that's inherency for you. Make sure you're inherent. See you next time.